My name is David Upshaw. I am the building commissioner for the village of Broadview, and I want to thank each and every one of you, friends, residents, for coming out this evening and spending some time. If you're not from the village of Broadview, in the village of Broadview, and if you're a resident of the village in Broadview, coming out to get this important information. This evening, we have Cook County Assessor Mr. Fritz KG and his team, and they are going to be talking about property taxes. All of us are concerned about our property taxes and how they are assessed and the process in which they are assessed. And so before he gives this presentation, I just want you guys to remember one thing, October 30th, October 30th, October 30th. Mr. KG?
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. It's so good to be back here. I've been in these chambers several times. I see a lot of familiar faces. I'm Cook County Assessor Fritz Kagi. I'm your neighbor. I live in Oak Park. What is October 30th? It's the deadline if you have an appeal. Okay, so that's what October 30th is. He gave the hook. I am there for the punchline. So what I have for you here today is I have one of our greatest outreach experts, if not the greatest expert at our office. We also have Lupe Marine, who heads residential outreach for us here. So one of our really expert members of our team here to help you with all the things that you might need here today. And I just wanted to, first of all, give you some high-level information about how we come up with assessments, how to interpret them. Then Hector is going to get into the nuts and bolts. We really appreciate you being with us here tonight. It's a beautiful night out there. We'll get you out, give you all the practical information. If you want to stay, we're here to take all your questions. So we just appreciate your presence here. It's a blessing. So let me first explain how we fit into the overall property tax system. We're only a part. And one of the things that I know some of you might worry about that I want to tell you a little bit about is that assessments are not the same as taxes, okay? And the change in your assessment does not involve the same change in your taxes, okay? It depends on how other people are assessed affects the taxes that you pay. If your assessment's up 30%, but everyone else's assessment's also up 30%, your taxes will not go up 30%, will go up by a much smaller amount. Okay, so that's one of the most important things for us to know is distinctive about the way our tax system works here in Cook County. So I know. So can you explain that? Yes, sure, I can. But I'll get to it in the course of the presentation, okay? But I know that's the most important thing, always on everyone's mind. My assessment's up 30%. Does that mean my taxes are up 30%? No, it does not. Okay, and I'll tell you why. What do we do with the assessment? Our job is to estimate the value of all different kinds of real estate, and to do it in every part of the county at least once every 3 years. And this is the year where we're reassessing the south and west suburbs. And Proviso is where we just sent out assessments. And it's a snapshot of where the market was on January 1st of this year. The last time we did it was January 1st, 2020. That was a really different housing market. That was before COVID hit. That was before we've seen a lot of the growth that's taking place in the western suburbs that's lifting up our community and other communities around it. So our job is to estimate the value of all homes, the most modest, the biggest, all businesses of all different kinds. We're in a balanced community here. So we were reassessing the industrial and the commercial and the residential all at the same time. Did I get that right? Balanced community? Okay. I want to make sure I got the messaging in. What do we not do with the assessor's office? We don't determine taxes. We don't decide how much taxes have to be raised. Oh, thank you. At the assessor's office, we're not determining how much taxes are raised. Actually, believe it or not, the amount of tax that's raised in this community is determined by your school board and by your village and by many other taxing bodies. It's not determined by us. And how much your assessment goes up or down does not change the total amount of tax that's collected in your community. So the amount of tax that's collected in your community might only rise 5%. So if assessments are up 30%, but taxes are only up 5%, that's how your assessment can be up a lot, but your tax bill up much less, because we don't have fixed rates in Cook County or in Illinois. In many other states that you might have lived in or might know about, they have a fixed percentage rate for property taxes. So if assessments go up, it means the total amount of tax goes up everywhere. That's not the case in our state. We use assessments to divide up the burden in each community every year. So your share of total assessed value in this community is your share of the amount of tax that has to be collected. If everyone's assessment goes up 30%, your share of that burden that has to be collected might not change that much. So that's the thing, that's an important takeaway. So if we go to the next slide, this is sort of, we're showing you that we're reassessing this part of the county this year. So we're reassessing the western and south suburbs this year. Next year we'll reassess Chicago. The following year we'll reassess the north suburbs, and around we'll go again. The assessments this year only affect your taxes next year. So if you've already found your tax bill online, it reflects where your assessments were last year, not this year. Okay? And some of you, you'll be getting your tax bill in the mail. It will reflect where your assessments were last year, not this year. Okay? So I wanted to show you a little bit more of the trends of where real estate markets are in Proviso Township. This is a graphical presentation of where house prices are on the left, or condos also. You see condos in the middle. And you see multifamily, that's 2 to 6 flats on the right. And you can see the broad upward trend of housing prices over the last few years. If your eyes are not that great, like mine, in 2018, the average house price, the median house price, that means the typical house price in a purchase in Proviso was $206,000. And it's been progressively going up. So in 2022, it was $278,000 for a typical home in Proviso. So growing by more than a third over the last few years, okay? And that's a trend that we're seeing through a lot of the western suburbs. A lot of the western suburbs, a lot of other communities in Proviso, we have nice communities with good schools where you can get a little bit of space in your house and in your yard. And that's very attractive to a lot of people all over Chicago and the suburbs. So people want to buy here. And people who've made that investment here, like you might have in your home, the value of your home's going up. Okay? This is good news. No one likes property taxes, but it's good news when your investment's successful. There are a lot of people who love to be in your place, to have their investment grow in value rather than not. If you look at condos, you can see they've grown, not quite as much. Typical condo a few years ago was at $123,000, now it's at $145,000. And then you can see what's happened with multifamily, that's the 2 to 6 flats, growing from $270,000 to $368,000. So very nice growth, even stronger growth there. This is a trend that we see all over the western suburbs. And these are actual transactions that happened, okay? If we go to the next slide, you can see how to get more information about what's going on in our community here in Broadview, rather than just Proviso. So if you go to your assessment notice, you'll see that there's a neighborhood code on it. You can take that neighborhood code and then go to the website here, www.cookcountyassessor.com/proviso-2023, and get a lot more information about what's going on in every neighborhood in Proviso. What does it list? It lists what happened last year, what a typical sale was like, what the range of sale prices was, how many sales there were, and you can see that range across all the different communities by looking in the different areas going through the map. you'll see the trend is generally the same. You can see in this community right here, which is just west of Broadview, the typical sale was $253,000, and the typical assessed value is a little bit lower, $230,000. And that's what we're seeing in a lot of other communities too. Now this is the part where I hand it off to Hector. So if we go to the next slide, Hector is going to walk you through, okay, Mr. Assessor, you sent out an estimate of the value of my house, and I don't think that's accurate. And he's going to walk you through how to do this, okay?
Let's give the assessor a round of applause, guys. I have a question. Can you guys hear me, or do I need a mic? Oh, I need the mic for recording. If I don't mind, I don't mind. See how that works? My name is Hector Dominguez. I'm here on behalf of the assessor's office. I want to thank you guys for being here. So it is my job to kind of walk you through what the appeal process is, what that entails, how to do that, and kind of troubleshoot some stuff, right? All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through this, and then at the very end, we're going to have time for a Q&A. This is being live streamed right now. It is live on their website, on the Broadview website. It is live with our information as well, so on our Facebook as well. All you gotta do is look for my face, and you can click on it, and all this information is available there. So I know that some of you are like taking a lot of pictures. That's cool, you can do that. You don't have to do that though, okay? All right, so why would someone appeal? How would someone appeal? What are the reasons why someone would appeal? This is kind of to your guys' question earlier. There are many different reasons why one would appeal. I'm going to go over the three most common reasons. So the first one is lack of uniformity. That means Robert and I live on the same block, house built by the same person, same size, same color, same construction, same everything. But for whatever reason, our values are different, which probably means our tax bills are different, and I want to know why. Most taxpayers, that is the reason why they're appealing. They go, hey, my neighbor across the street, we got the same house, but our values are different. What is going on with that, right? The next most common reason is overvaluation. That's probably everybody here. There's no way my house is worth this much. If my house was worth this much, I'll sell it to you right now, right? Okay, Robert. And then the third most common reason is incorrect property description, also known as property description error. That means there's a factual error, not an opinionated error. Well, Hector, what does that mean? What's the difference? Well, an opinionated error is, I don't think my house is worth this much because I don't think my house is worth this much. That's an opinion. A factual error is, I don't think my house is worth this much because you are accidentally assessing me for 3,000 square feet, but I really have 1,500. That's a factual error, right? Or our office says you have a building with 6 apartments or less, but you really have a single family home. That's a factual error. There are other reasons why one would appeal. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but let's go to the next slide, please. This is your reassessment notice. Who here has your reassessment notice? Raise your hand. Awesome. So on your reassessment notice, there's a lot of vital information that is super important. I'm going to kind of show you some of the things that you should pay attention to. So one, you have your new value, your new estimated assessed value. You have your PIN number. Earlier, the assessor was talking about neighborhood codes. Does anyone see what their neighborhood code is? Go ahead and yell it out. 34. Is anyone different? 24? 30? 33? 33, beautiful. The reason why I did that was to show you guys that even though you're in the same township, your neighborhood codes are different. Typically, when we speak about neighborhoods, people believe it's their block. That's what we all grew up understanding. That is not what we're talking about when we say neighborhood code. Your neighborhood code is a range of area, and it was a slide like 3 slides ago where you can go on our website, go to your specific township, click on the neighborhood code tool. It's a new tool. It's about 2 years old, 2.5 maybe, and it's brand new. And on there, you can actually find your 34, your 32, your what other number you guys said, and look at the properties in your neighborhood. That's a really good way to kind of figure out where you are, where you land amongst everybody else. Also, here's your assessed value and your property characteristics. So it tells you kind of on the back, probably, it tells you what the information on your home is, right? Can you go to the next slide, please? Next. So what is the reassessment process? What is the appeal process? Listen, how many of you all, don't be shy, this is your first time appealing? Raise your hand. Okay, don't be scared. All the men in here, relax. Put your hands up. All right. Another question. How many of you all here are maybe intimidated with the appeal process? Like you kind of don't know what's happening. It's okay. I know. I used to be intimidated too. Last question. How many of you have gotten letters from like tax attorneys and reps saying for 33 1/3% I can do this and all kind of other magic, right? So earlier we got a question. Hey, can I use the attorney? Absolutely you can. I cannot give you my opinion on that, but I can say I hope that after this presentation you take a second thought, right? It's my job to teach you how to do this, so that you don't have to hire someone if you don't want to, all right? There is no special code. There are no friends. There are no connections. Nobody's a plug. Nobody knows. No, that's not how this works, right? Appeals are done anonymously, and the way you can review your appeals by a filing ID number. So there is no way to sneak anything in or do anything sneaky. That's not what we're doing here, all right? So we're going to walk you. Yes, sir.
The chance of success is exactly the same if you do it yourself as if you hire an attorney. You're the world's greatest expert on your own home, and this appeal process is really just to present us with data about your home. So why not unleash your expertise as the world's greatest expert on your own home in the appeal and save your own money when your chance of success is exactly the same, and we're equipping you with the tools right here.
Absolutely, and I'm not going to put anybody on blast, but yesterday I did an event, and we had a gentleman, hey, can you help me with my property? Yeah, no problem, here's the answer. Hey, I got another one, can you help us? Yeah, no problem. Hey, I got another one. Okay. Hey, I got another one. Okay. Hey, this was an attorney asking us to do the work for them that you're paying them to do. Now, I'm not saying this is what all of them do, but I am saying once I walk you through this, you can then decide if this is something you want to do, all right? So what happens is you get a reassessment notice. On your reassessment notice, you get an amount. You look at it, either you gasp or you smile, and then we go on to the appeal process. What will happen is you will file your appeal, and then an analyst will go in and review all the evidence submitted. From there, they'll decide, or they will issue what's called a decision letter. That decision letter will come through the mail. It won't be digital. Right? It'll come straight to your mail, and it'll say, congratulations, due to your appeal, we're going to lower your value by such and such amount. Or, sorry, due to the uniformity of your neighborhood, we're not going to lower your value. Regardless of whatever the decision is, if you're satisfied, you have nothing to do, you reap the benefit next second installment. So not the one you're about to get, the year after that. If you are not satisfied, you can go to step number 2, which is the Cook County Board of Review. They have a similar process. Once you get a decision letter from them, if you're not satisfied, you can go to step number 3. Step number 3 is the Property Tax and Appeal Board, PTAB board. Now, I will tell you, our office, the assessor's office, we're free. The Cook County Board of Review, they're free. PTAB is not free. They are currently working on 2019 appeals. What year are we in? 2023. So it'll be a while before they get to your appeal if you decide to go to PTAB. I just want to be honest so you all know everything is in front of you, okay? PTAB, no pizza, not yet, after this. PTAB, Property Tax and Appeal Board, PTAB. No problem at all.
Sorry for interrupting. Once they review the information, is there a chance that your assessment will go up?
Excellent question. Worst case scenario, absolutely nothing happens. You're still mad next year, that's it, right? Best case scenario, you get a reduction and you are super satisfied. Literally worst case scenario, nothing happens.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Next slide, please. So, how do you start this appeal? CookCountyAssessor.com/online-appeals. Here you can start your appeal, you can save your appeal, you can edit your appeal, you can pause your appeal, you can think about it, wait a second, you can do whatever you want. This is completely free. Let me say that one more time. This is completely free, okay? Our office is not charged for this at all. You can submit additional documentation, which is going to lead to your question later about how do you attach certain things. I'm going to show you how to do that. What I do want to draw attention to is that your township closes the day before Halloween. So before you all do trick-or-treating, do not get tricked, okay? October 30th, that is your deadline. That is your deadline. Please do not be the individuals that log on at 11:59 and go, I'm going to appeal now. You're not going to get done in 1 minute, okay? Next slide, please. So here's how it goes. We're about to start and walk you through the appeal process, all right? Now keep in mind, you only are typing a total of 7 times. Of those 7 times, 2 of them are duplicates, all right? So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about paying someone to do this for you, all right? CookCountyAssessor.com, you're going to click on Appeals, and you're going to get a File Appeal Online. You're going to scroll down, next, and click on, we have a bunch of different type of appeals. What we're going to focus on today is residential. So you're going to click on residential, and then if you have appealed in the past, just go ahead and log in. If you have never appealed and this is your first time, or you forgot your email address, or you forgot your password, just go ahead and create a new one. Very simple. Mine is happytaxpayer@gmail.com. My password, I can't tell you. Go ahead and sign in, and then you will be brought to available filings. Now you want to scroll all the way to the bottom where it says residential assessment appeal. Now yours will say 2023. That is a screenshot from last year. That's why it says 2022. You would click on residential appeal and begin filing. Here's the first time you're typing. You're putting in your PIN number. Once you put in your PIN number, you would click search, and then it will auto-populate for you. Now, if you are the only owner, your name will pop up. But if you have a property that's been previously owned by multiple different types of people, all of their names might show up. So you just got to scroll until you find your name. Once you click Start Filing, you will be brought to this screen. Now, a lot of people's question is, how do I know if I'm doing this correctly? Well, when you're filing an appeal, wherever you see a check box or wherever you see a red star or an asterisk, you must complete that task. If you do not complete that task, a giant something is wrong. Do you want to fix it now? Will pop up. That's how you know if you're doing it right or wrong. So wherever you see a check box, just check it. Wherever you see a asterisk, just check it. Next, please. This will auto-populate for you. We're just making sure you are who you say you are. Next. Now, this is not going to be used by 99% of the people in this room. But in the event, I was telling a story earlier, my house was actually arsoned. And when it was, the assessor's office was the last people I told. I had to tell the police, the fire departments, insurance, take pictures, trying to figure out who was trying to hurt us, all of these kinds of crazy things, right? Well, in the event that there was a mistake, I was being assessed for a property. Well, my property was no longer a property. It was uninhabitable. I couldn't live there. It didn't even exist anymore. We had to demolish it. Well, I never let the assessor's office know. So this is a way to let us know that there was a mistake, a factual mistake, not an opinionated mistake. This is how you would let us know. Again, 99% of you all aren't even going to touch this screen. You would just click next. But for those of you all that do have a mistake and you want to let us know, you just click on the year and click next.
How far back did you go?
So as of right now, it is 2019. Yes. Next. Here, is there anyone here who has more than one PIN number for their property? All right, so that's called a prorated property. That means you have multiple PIN numbers for one property. If that was you, instead of receiving 2 tax bills a year, you would receive 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on the situation. It's not you, I could tell it's not you. And from there, you just let us know what the PIN number is and click next. But for you all here, you would just click next. Now, what did we say earlier about the asterisks and the check boxes? Wherever those are, you have to do that task. So you just let us know. Are you the taxpayer owner? Are you the taxpayer owner? And then we need your name. That is the second time you have typed so far. And we're halfway done with the appeal already. All right? You give us your name. You give us your phone number. The rest of that information will auto-populate for you. Next. Once that happens, This will auto-populate. Just go ahead and find your property. Next. And now we get to property characteristics, right? Again, 99% of you all aren't going to touch anything on here. This is for folks who know, for example, my house is not 99 years old. It's 132, right? You know for a fact there is an error here. This is where you would correct it. If you do not have anything to correct, you just scroll all the way to the bottom and click next. Now, we need to know what you believe your property's worth, right? Don't put 0, all right? We need to know what you believe your property's worth, all right? So here is where you would give us that information. Can you go next?
So you actually got to put some in there.
Absolutely. Come on now. Come on, right? Yes?
What is the purpose of doing that?
Well, most people's argument is, hey, I don't agree with the value. So just to keep the number simple, we say your home is worth $250,000. No, it's not. Okay, then what do you believe it is? That's why we ask that information. I would love to sit up here and say that our office gets it right 1,000, but we don't, right?
Now, what is that based on? Is that just the best scenario, or
For you?
or if you have it assessed by someone?
We'll get to that part, but for that portion, that's just on you. What do you believe your property's worth? Because the next set of questions is why do you believe that? Yes, and then we'll go here.
So, a couple of things for Broadview residents. The average sales price of houses in Broadview are $250,000, and they're on the market approximately 30 days right now as we speak. Last year, it was a little longer, maybe 45, and the price of houses was about between 250 and 260.
No, listen. I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble with anybody. We're just going to continue. Yes.
Well, I'm concerned about if a resident put in what they think their property would sell for, will the assessor ask for proof? And I think one way we can probably obtain the proof is through our building department. That's up to building commissioner, Mr. Upshaw, or how do we substantiate what we're saying?
So we're going to get there.
It has to be based on facts.
We're going to get there.
Okay.
So
So for this year, which one do you check? See what you want the COE?
you wouldn't check anything there, no, unless there was a factual error.
Okay, gotcha.
No problem. So next, we need to know why you are appealing, right? So why are you appealing? So we went over the 3 most common: lack of uniformity, property characteristics were incorrect, and overvaluation. But there are other reasons. So another reason is vacancy occupancy. That means you have an empty property. Well, how would you prove to us that you have an empty property? You can just take pictures, and I will show you how to upload those pictures, right? Next, you have fire damage, self-explanatory. But do note, if you choose fire damage, you will have to provide proof. What is proof? Police reports, fire reports, insurance claims, pictures, everything I had to do, right? Next, we have building is uninhabitable. Yes, sir.
And I know that flooding affected a lot of people in Proviso. If it has made your home uninhabitable or has affected the market value of your house, this is also the opportunity to put that in.
I know that was your guys' question. So, building is uninhabitable. That means you physically cannot live there. It doesn't mean the kitchen is ugly. It doesn't mean my husband still lives there, right? It means you physically cannot live there. You have that big, bright yellow or orange sticker that says you cannot live here. You're missing a floor. The foundation was damaged because of flooding or something like that, right? You physically can't live there. And then lastly, building no longer exists. That is self-explanatory. If you don't have a building, if you don't own any property, you're just hanging out with us tonight. Next, we need to know, I'm sorry, I meant next for me, not for you, Lupe. I apologize. Now, once you pick a reason for appealing, you have to give us some type of proof, some type of contextualization, so that we know what's happening. So for my example, this was just an example. Don't do what I did, right? So I put overvaluation and wrote too high. Now, this is not legal counsel. For the microphones in the wall, this is not legal counsel. This is just an example. If you choose overvaluation, or lack of uniformity, or or vacancy or something like that, we need to know why. So an example could be based on an analysis or based on a market review or based on some information that I got from the Township Assessor's Office. These values are too high. We're going to get there. You've been on it all day today. I'm proud of you. And you've been waiting for me to mess up, low-key. I know. So that's what you would do. Just make sure you give us an explanation of why you're choosing whatever you're choosing. After that, we have what's called a field check, which is free. A field check is where someone from our office actually comes out, redraws, and remeasures your property. Robert, don't worry. You don't have to be there. All right? We just show up. You don't have to make an, oh my gosh, my brain just went. You don't have to make an appointment. Whoever said it, thank you, I appreciate you. You don't have to make an appointment. You don't have to be there. We don't have to go inside your property, nothing like that. We literally hop out, redraw, remeasure, if that's what you want, and then we take it back in. Yes, sir.
So if you're using the flooding of a basement to dispute the value, you need to have pictures.
You need proof. So what is proof? Pictures, maybe insurance claims, maybe, yeah, like something.
But the pictures will be sufficient.
So you're asking the wrong question. I am the student that gave my teacher more than she asked for, so I would not personally just give pictures, because that could be from Google, right? Like, so I would give everything I could. So that would be pictures, that would be an appraisal, that would be some type of insurance claim maybe, some type of estimate or something, some type of FEMA relief letter or something that proves that this is actually what's happening. And I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I've been doing this for a long time. Field check, we're done with that. So now we need to know, what kind of property do you have? Do you have a single family home? Do you have a building with 6 apartments or less? Do you have a mixed use? Mixed use means you have some type of business, maybe a restaurant or a store on the first floor and you live on the second floor. Or do you have a townhome or a duplex? Next. Now, here's where it gets a little exciting. Comparables. Here's everybody's question. Please listen to what I'm saying. Earlier, we talked about your reassessment notice, correct? And how we said that those values actually matter, the things on there actually matter. So when you put in your PIN number, this is auto-populated for you to match and compare to your property. If you don't change anything and you click on Find Comparables, you will find comparables. If you change something, will you find comparable? Yes. Will it be comparable to your property? No. So what are we not going to do? We're not going to change anything on that top portion. But what if I know for a fact that Robert's property is just like mine? Our values are different though, and I want to use his property. I'm not going to, Robert, relax. I see you looking at me. Relax. I'm not going to use his directly. But in that situation, that's what the custom additional search criteria is for. The bottom portion, custom additional search criteria. Listen, because you have to type something in there. All right, well, I'm going to show you how to do it in a different way. I told you I got you, right? So there, you put in a specific property you want our office to look at as a comparable. So the top portion is to get a list of comparables that you want to sift through. The bottom portion is for a specific property. Regardless, once you click on Find Comparables, next please, this is what you're going to get. Now, for my example, I only did one, but you will get pages of comparables. And now all you got to do is find, I'm going to get to you. All you got to do is find the one that you believe matches your property. So for argument's sake, if you're saying your home is worth only $200,000, what are you going to look for? Properties that are close to $200,000, right? What are you not going to do? Click on properties that are $300,000, properties that are $100,000, right? You want to get to whatever you believe your property is worth.
Well, my question is, I thought that when you look at comparables, it's supposed to be comparables, similarities to your property.
That is.
Meaning brick, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, bath, whatever.
Yep.
And similar square footage.
Yep.
Garage, everything.
Yep.
And it's all over the place.
So great question. You didn't ask a question, but you kind of did. So each of your property has a different kind of property class, right? Each of those classes have a range of information. So I'm just making it up. I have a 202. That's 900 square feet to 2,000 square feet. 205 is 2,000 square feet to 4,000 square feet, right? I'm making those numbers up. That's just an example. So when you're looking for your comparables, remember when I said don't change anything? Remember that? When I said don't change anything? So now once you leave that filter alone and you click find comparables, it's going to find everything in your range. So as long as you stay in there and you don't change anything, you can use any comparable that's there, that's closest to whatever value you believe your home is worth. So even if the square footage is wrong, it's not wrong. It's in your range. Even if the construction type is wrong, it's not wrong. It's in your range.
So the comparables that it pull up,
Mhm.
you use your site,
Mhm.
it pulls up quite a few.
Yep.
But they're not like yours.
But they're in your range. So they're in your pool of properties you can compare with. Yes. Mhm.
So it's only with your defaulted information. But what if that's incorrect?
So there's another way to do it, and I'm going to get there. I told you I'm going to take care of you today. I told you was going to like me before we were done. So now you would go to next, and whatever comparable you chose, this is how they would show up side to side. If you are satisfied with the comparable you chose, you would just click next. Or maybe you made a mistake and you clicked the wrong one on accident, you would just click on previous. That's it. But for what we're doing, we're going to click next. Here is where it gets a little bit different. So your township assessor's office has what's called the AIM program, AIM, right? They have access to that program. Our office does not. We don't use that. They do. They can find comparables for you. Now, I don't know what their rules are. I don't know if you have to make an appointment. I don't know if you have to call in. Or I don't know how that works. It's best to call in? No, ma'am. That's not new. Well, I take that back. I've been working here for 12 years. It's not 12 years new. So as long as I've been here, it's been available. That's a way for you to have a kind of more refined way to find your comparables. And for your specific situation where it was kind of acting up and you couldn't, one second.
Continue.
For your situation where you were trying to click on things and they weren't really working right, what you can do to alleviate that, and anyone else who's had that problem where you're trying to click on comparables but it's just not working, you can copy and paste them onto a Word document or onto an Excel spreadsheet, and this is where you would attach them. This is where you would upload them, along with any pictures you have, any sales analysis you have, any appraisal you have, any documentation you have. This is where you would upload anything you kind of couldn't figure out before this stage.
Hector mentioned your township assessor. A lot of times people ask, what is the township assessor? The township assessor is like your consumer advocate here in Proviso Township. They're there to help you through this process. They also work for free, and they're here if you need any other assistance as you may in picking comps or doing anything else in this process. Last thing that I wanted to add after Hector's given you all of this, I don't want all of you to feel like you have to do a lot of research on comps to do your appeal. You do not have to do that. You can make an appeal without providing comps. We will look at this appeal from several different angles and give you the benefit of the doubt from the different ways that you can look at comps ourselves, okay? And Hector's gonna tell you a little bit more, and then...
You did have something to say, right?
Real quick, Kevin McGreer, Village Clerk. If any of you wish to visit or talk to the assessor's office, I've worked with that office many times, helping residents with their taxes. I'm going to go make copies of his name, Zawalski, and phone number, and the address to visit. It's best to call first. This is tax season, or I should say, tax season, and they are busy, so it's best to call as opposed to just showing up and having to wait in a long line. So I'm going to go make copies of that right now. Anyone that needs it, I'm going to ask you to hold your hand up. Thanks.
No problem at all. So again, this is specific to people who want to file an appeal based on comparables. Like I was sharing earlier, mine was not based on comparables. Mine was based on an arson, on a fire. So I didn't have to find comparables. But no one really has to. If you want to, you can. But you absolutely can't submit your appeal without them. There's just people who, they're like me, and they want to do all the extra work. Next. All right, this is the end of the appeal. So far, you've only typed 4 times. 5 times, sorry, 5 times. Here is where you would put your name, you would type your name, you would type your phone number, your email address would auto-populate, and you would click submit. Now, once you click submit, you will get a giant, are you sure you want to submit? Up until this point, you can stop your appeal, you can pause your appeal, you can edit your appeal, you can do whatever you want. But the moment you click yes, you're going to get a confirmation page. Next. It'll say confirmation. Thank you. And it will have a filing ID number. That number is the most important thing about your appeal. Write it down, take a screenshot, put it somewhere, take a picture of it, remember it, whatever you have to do, because when you contact our office and say, hey, can you please tell me the status of your appeal? We're going to say, yes, please give us your filing ID number. Remember earlier I was talking about how appeals are anonymous? This is how we do that. We use your filing ID number. Alternatively, if you don't want to talk to us, you can log into your account, and where it says My Filings, click there, find your filing ID number, and you can see the status of your appeal there as well. Next. All of this information can be found on cookcountyassessor.com, your exemption history, your assessment history, all of that information, property characteristics. Maybe you want to figure some stuff out about somebody else, your neighbor maybe. You can do that there as well. Next. Now, this is not an exemption presentation, but I want to go over this very quickly. Can you press next 9 times? Literally. I'm good, saw that? So, the homeowner exemption, senior citizen exemption, and persons with disability exemption, those are auto-renewed. That means if you applied for them already, they will automatically renew for you going forward unless there's a deed change. The ones in red, or they're red, but you probably can't see that color, right? Veterans with disability exemption and home improvement exemptions, those are automatically renewed going forward, but with special stipulations. So again, this is not an exemption workshop. So if you have any questions about that, we definitely have presentations like this on our website, on our Facebook, on our Instagram, on our YouTube. Just look for my face and click on it. Next. This is what your tax bill looks like. Bottom, you get 2 of these a year. You get a blue one when it's cold outside, and you get a yellow one when it's warmer outside. The yellow one has your discounts on it. Bottom left-hand corner where it says tax calculator, that is where your homeowner is listed. Your senior citizen is listed. Your senior freeze. So a lot of folks say, hey, how do I look at my tax bill and know if I'm getting my discounts? Bottom left-hand corner. Next. If you want to connect with us, you can definitely call us 312-443-7550. Or you can connect with us on social media. I'm just going to be honest. We are on social media all day. So if you have a Facebook, if you have a Twitter, if you have an Instagram, a YouTube account, or a LinkedIn account, connect with us on there. You can DM us, and we will answer you quickly. I also want to show you a cool, where's my phone? A cool little thing that our office has, where if you open up your camera app, and you hover over that QR code, come on now, don't embarrass me. That QR code, it'll take you directly to our Linktree account. This has everything we just talked about. Has ways for you to file exemptions when that's available, ways for you to file appeals when that's available, to make an appointment when that's available. And I would encourage everyone here to scroll down to the 6th option where it says get updates from our office. Sign up for our newsletter. The most common question we get every day: how do I know when my township is open? How do I know when I can appeal? How do I know when I can file exemptions? How do I know? How do I know? This is how you know. You sign up for our newsletter, and that way, any information that has anything to do with your property, you will know immediately. If you want to make an appointment with us in person, you can do that at the downtown location, 118 North Clark, 3rd floor. The Markham Courthouse location at 16501 South Kedzie. The Skokie Courthouse location, 5600 West Old Orchard Road, room 149, and the Bridgeview Courthouse location, 10220 South 76th Avenue, room 205. Ladies and gentlemen, we are done with the presentation. The next part that we're going to do now is the Q&A. If you give me a chance, I'm just going to sip some water, and then we're going to do a Q&A. Can we do that? Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
There's also brochures in the back that talk about all the stuff that he just did. And again, all of it is on our Facebook, it's on our YouTube. So if you can't remember something, you can always go back and look at that there. But again, all that information and the brochures and the pamphlets are in the back.
I failed. I apologize. No. All right, I took my break. I'm back. So we're gonna do the Q&A now. I just got 3 house rules. Rule number 1, you're not mad at me. All right? You for real not mad at me. I've been helping you all day. Okay? You're not mad at me. Number 2, let's be kind to each other. I'm going to repeat the question. Please don't yell, repeat the question. Only reason I will not repeat the question if it's personal in nature. I just won't do that. I don't want to embarrass anybody. All right? And lastly, please, 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 let's not have any side conversations, because this is a smaller room and it'll get a little bit louder than it needs to be. All right? So do we have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, during the comparables for the costs,
Mm-hmm.
when I get my reassessment bill, the amount that the assessor has estimated
Mhm.
what my property is valued at,
Mhm.
compared to the comparables. And I heard you, Hector, when you said earlier that the comparables that pre-populate to my zip code and my, you know, the
Neighborhood code, yes.
neighborhood code. I heard you when you said that, but on the website, it does not have what the comparables assessed values were, but you said that it automatically actually populates those that are in the same market value range
Mhm.
or guesstimate range.
Mhm.
So then that answered my question, actually.
Okay.
But that, I was concerned when because I filed mine already, but I was concerned when I did the comparables, you know, are these properties assessed value guesstimated by the assessor's office at the same amount that my
Mhm.
property was valued at? But you answered that. And then for the exemptions, is there one form for 2023 exemptions, or when does that form?
Great question. Great question. So we pay our taxes 1 year behind, right? We are in 2023. We are paying what? The 2022 taxes. Do you guys know why we do that? The Great Depression. 1933, 1934, Cook County stopped paying taxes, and then as they tried to catch up, they never did. That's the answer. That's why we do that. Robert, I know you don't believe me, but it is the truth. All right? It's crazy, but I know, but man, look, I just work here. All right? So that's what it is. Now, because we pay our taxes 1 year behind, you'll always be looking for your exemptions the very next year. So your 2023 exemptions will all be on one new application, and that'll be sent out around January, February, March, April. March, April of next year is typically when they come out. Give us some grace because, you know, sometimes things happen, but March, April of next year of 2024 is when your 2023 exemption application will be available.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for being so kind to me. I appreciate it.
I just wanted to share.
Here you go.
Oh, okay.
We were talking about Proviso Township in the assessor's office, and I mentioned to a resident back there that it's in Hillside by the bowling alley. I actually have the address. For those of you who don't know where it is, it's 4565 West Harrison, Hillside, Illinois. 4565 West Harrison Street, Hillside, Illinois, which is pretty much right next to the bowling alley. I think it's on the 2nd or 3rd floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question, you might have covered this already, but
It's okay. I'll do it again.
every year, are those exemptions adjusted, or every 2 years, reassessment, are they adjusted upward to get you a higher, higher
Discount?
discount?
Great question.
2 years.
Yeah, great question. So it sounds like you might be mixing two different things, so let me help you. Exemptions are calculated on an amount multiplied by your township tax rate. So every year the discount amount can be different, absolutely, every single year. But it's typically around the same amount. So it depends on what township you live in. So where I live at, my homeowner's exemption is about $1,400. But where my coworker lives at, it's $700. So it just depends on where you live at. But it's like that way. It's like that for all of our exemptions. They're all a number multiplied by the township tax rate of your specific township.
So in the case, then, that's $700,
Great question. So no, the reassessment has nothing to do with the exemption amount. Has nothing to do with the township tax rate. Your township tax rate covers the tax levies and the taxing bodies, police, fire, school, mosquito abatement, what is that? Water reclamation, we don't know, right? All of those different things. That's where that number comes from. Mhm. Great question. Is there a list of exemptions with amounts? Yes and no. There is a list of exemptions on our website, cookcountyassessor.com. Literally just click exemption. And then there's a example calculation, but again, since there are so many different townships, that math is different for every single one.
And can I obtain that list through Proviso?
I have no idea, but you can go to cookcountyassessor.com, click on the word exemption, and it's right there.
Okay.
Yes.
So when your home is reassessed, how does it affect your taxes?
So do you want to take this one?
So the question was, when your home is reassessed, how does it affect your taxes? And this sort of gets to the initial opening when we were talking. The way property taxes work and assessments work is that your share of assessed value in the community becomes your share of the total amount of levy, property tax levy that has to be collected in the community. So what that really means is your assessment affects your tax bill, but other people's assessment affects your tax bill too. So if there's a giant warehouse that's built here that was not there before, it becomes part of the tax base, part of the assessed value in the whole community, and your share of assessment value might go down. Okay, so that's why it's good when there's more growth, when there are more buildings being built, when homes are worth more. Your share of the total assessed value, when it goes down, that means your share of the levy can go down. And again, what's the levy? The levy is the total amount of all the taxes that have to be collected for the different government bodies that are serving your community. Most of it's for schools. About 2/3 of property taxes are levies for schools. It's your elementary school, it's your high school. The village is usually a small piece. It's only about 10 or 15%. I know your village has worked very hard to keep the levy down. I see some trustees in here. But then there's also Cook County itself, the Water Reclamation District. I live in Oak Park. There are 16 different taxing bodies, including something called the Des Plaines Valley Mosquito Abatement District. I don't know if anyone knows what's going on there. Okay? But all of those services, they have a little bit of tax levy, and they're added up together, and it's a lump sum of money. The total amount of assessed value in your community, if assessed value is going up, it doesn't change that lump sum that has to be collected in a year. But it does, your share of assessed value becomes your share of that levy. So that's why when I said at the start, a change in your assessed value of 30%, we have a lot of people in this community whose assessment went up 30% or more. It doesn't mean your taxes are going up 30%, okay? So that's the important thing to remember, because if everyone else is going up 30%, your taxes might go up by a much smaller amount. And if you don't believe me, you can see what happened in the tax cycle last year for Chicagoans. Assessed value in Chicago went up 20%, but the total amount of tax in Chicago that was collected went up only about 8%. There were hundreds of thousands of people whose assessment went up, but their bills went down, okay? And the reason why is, okay, their assessed value went up less than the total in Chicago, and that's why that can happen.
So how do you figure your rate for Cook County before the rate
Mm-hmm.
What's the rate?
The question was, so how do we figure out the rate? Because it was a certain level before, how do we know what the rate is going to be in the future? The answer is, and it's not a very satisfying answer.
Not in the future, now.
Yeah, now, right, the rate for the assessment this year, we don't know yet. Well, so the question was, so she's saying, what do you mean, how can you not know? It depends on how everyone's appeal goes.
So they doing it different?
So it's always been the same. On the one hand, your school district, your libraries, they're determining what their levy is.
I understand that. That's the village.
Right, that's the village, but it's also your school.
I know, but I'm not asking that
Uh-huh.
I'm asking what's Cook County's rate, which the village rate is on top.
Right, so, okay.
So very quickly, anyone who has a second installment tax bill, the big giant box in the middle, that is where all of your tax levies are. If you look at the county portion, it's at the bottom, not the bottom of the page, but the bottom of that big yellow box. That has not changed, it's changed by dollars. It has not changed in, I want to say like 17, 18 years. It's always typically around $20 to $30 every single second installment tax bill. So it changes, but it's literally pennies. It's not $100, it's not $50, it's between 20 and 30 every year.
So, he says that our tax rate is not changed based upon the assessment. But whatever you assess the property at, it's taxed by that 2-point-something%.
So that 2-point-something%, that's the state equalizer. That is not from our office. Yeah, no, I'm giving you where that number comes from, though. The state equalizer, that comes from the Department of Revenue. It makes Cook County equal with all the other counties in Illinois. I was saying this earlier, every single year. And why does it change? I was telling this to you earlier, Robert, I think. All the other counties in Illinois assess their property at 33 1/3%. Cook County does not. Residential property is 10%. Commercial property is 25%. So we need that state equalizer to make us equal.
I'm sorry, let me just complete the thought on the equalizer. The equalizer went down this year. It was at 3-point-something last year. It's 2.9-something this year. That's because assessed value went up in the north suburbs, and where all of our assessed values are a little bit closer to the mark. So that's why the state comes up with a lower equalizer. If this all seems so complicated, I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed. I don't want this to stop you from... The one thing you need to know is we estimated the market value of your house, and if it's too high, you have a basis for appeal. So I just want, but you're asking very good questions about how the system works. And the thing is, the rate, so the rates are going to be out. They're published in the tax bill that you'll be getting in the mail in about a week or so, but that rate next year will be different.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, so they can understand how the tax bill is calculated.
Yes, yes. We have it on our website. The basic thing to think about is in the numerator, you have the levy, and it grows a little bit every year. In the denominator, in the bottom, you have the tax base. You have the total assessed value. And that can grow in a reassessment year like we're in right now, so that can cause your rate to go down, okay?
Oh, when they come out.
Right, that's right. So the rates will be, so the rates based on the growing assessed value in our community, will be published next year. I expect them to go down. Assessed value went up about 30%, or a little bit more in Proviso. So that means if the levy's growing a little bit, but the base has grown a lot more, assessed value has grown a lot more, that means the rate automatically goes down. Okay?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I think my property taxes go down about 20-30%.
Uh-huh.
So what can we do as a community to try to get these taxes down? Because it sounds like the appeal is not a major factor. So is there anything we can do? Like,
Such a great question. So the question, what's your name? Akeem. So Akeem's question was, so what can we do to get property taxes down for everyone? Because it's like, it doesn't seem like the appeal is necessarily a great systemic way to do it. That's such a great insight. Because what an appeal does, it reduces your share of the burden, but it means your neighbor picks up a little bit more of the burden. And so if we're all thinking together, what can we do to reduce property taxes? So there are two big things. One thing we can do, we can get more growth. If we have more buildings, if the value of people's homes grows, that increases the size of the base. That might reduce your share of the base somewhat. That's one thing we can do. But the other thing we can do, what can we do to reduce the levies? First of all, good citizenship. And I know we got good citizenship in here because we got a couple of trustees, people who are serving in roles. And that's the way your citizenship as a trustee or as someone who votes for trustees is saying, do you know the value of $1, of my dollar? Are you getting the best value? Are we getting the best value in our services? Is this a good use of our money? And that's democracy in action. What you're doing, all of you on a beautiful evening are right here. So this is democracy in action. Okay, that's one way. But another more systemic way to get levies down is finding ways to pay for educating our children that don't involve property taxes. Our state has some of the highest property taxes in the nation because our state does less than almost every other state in supporting school budgets from the state's revenues, okay? Our state provides about 25% of a typical school district's budget. In most states, it's closer to 50%, including in Indiana, where I think we fluctuate between number 49 and 50 in the nation in doing that. That's why schools is about 2/3 of our property taxes. And we care about the education of our children. My wife's a teacher. I know we got some other teachers in here. It's important. But in our economy that's getting more digital, that has all different kinds of wealth, there's no particular reason why we have to always fund our schools based on property taxes. The state has access to income taxes, so does the federal government. We can ask our state and our federal government to provide more support for our school districts. $1 extra into our school systems from those sources is $1 less that they need to levy property taxes on. And that's really the systemic way to get them down across the board. And how do we do that? Talk to your state representative. Talk to your state senator. We got some pretty powerful ones here. Yeah. So just say, hey, this is a priority for me. I want to stay in this community. What can we do to get more support for our schools? Doesn't involve taxing me and my neighbors and our businesses that we want more of around here. Yes, ma'am.
Years ago, they said that the lottery was going to help the schools. What happened with that?
So this is a good one. Years ago, they said the lottery was going to pay for it and solve all our problems. Well, so this is one of those stories of what the right hand gives, the left hand takes away. The right hand gave us the lottery. The left hand said, okay, we're going to put a little bit less of the state's other revenues into the school district. So you found a new source for school funding, but then you shorted the school funding from how you were doing it before. So shame on them, but also shame on us. Because who's going to call them on that? We should. It's up to us. Yes, ma'am.
My first question is, so based upon the assessed value, per se, if it's already, the property is already been assessed at $200,000, you feel that, okay, well, that's fine. So there's no need to appeal?
So the question was, if I think the estimate of my property was accurate, is there any need to appeal? The choice is yours. You can base it, the appeal has several different bases. Is it based on market? So what you're saying is, well, I think my house probably is worth around $200,000. So you wouldn't do it based on overvaluation. But if you saw another home like yours that was assessed a lot lower, you have the right to say, hey, I have the same house as this other person. I have a right to be assessed the same way as them. So that might be a way that you could do it. Now, we've been doing a lot of these events, and people have said, hey, Fritz, I used to be able to find all these comps because they were all over the place. Everything's around 140 or 150 or 160,000 now. What's up with that? Why can't I find the comps? We're trying to do better, is our answer. But if you're finding other comps, if you're not, if you're finding other comps, you have that option available to you. If we've not described your house correctly, that's another thing where our footage is wrong, or you don't have a finished basement like we thought you did. That's another thing you can make a claim for. One thing I wanted to note in the appeals is they're really helpful for telling us what we don't already know. We have information about your house or what we think we know about your house, and even if we get everything right that we think we know about your house, the footage, the year it was built, there are still other things that can affect its value that we don't know about that might be important to put in your appeal. There's a narrative section in that appeal. And it used to be that the most important section of your appeal was finding the comps. More and more, I think it's the narrative. What about your house do we not know? Because oftentimes it can be that the kitchen hasn't been refinished in 60 years. That affects its value in the market, right? But we're assessing you like an average home. That thing there makes it below average. We think you have a finished attic. Yes, but the finished attic only has 6-foot high ceiling clearance. It's not really habitable in the same way that another square foot would be. And you can provide evidence of that. Or the foundation is cracked. That affects the value of the house. We don't know if your foundation's cracked. We need you to tell us that in the narrative. So those are, that's where that narrative section is helpful. Like I said, you're the world's greatest expert on your own home. There's no lawyer on this earth that knows that information that you do. So in your appeal, that's where you should bring that information forth. And you do need to provide evidence. So you need to provide a picture or some other things to show it. And like Hector said, it's not that my husband's really annoying and he's in the living room all the time. But there are other things that affect the value of your house that we don't know about.
Such as, if I could just give another example of that, converting from an asphalt to a solar roof. Making those home renovations, like you said, remodeling the bathroom, remodeling the kitchen, all of that would help equalize the estimate that the assessor.
Yes, so she mentioned the important factor that renovations have on house values. And it could be, it might not be to your benefit to bring forth the fact that you got a Martha Stewart kitchen rather than a Bess Truman kitchen like I grew up with. But here's how it can be important. What if all the houses that we thought were comps have Martha Stewart kitchens and you just have an average kitchen? There are a lot of communities where there's, and out here in our western suburbs too, there's lots of renovations going on. There's lots of house flipping going on. So that's why it's worthwhile to check. You probably have the best sense of what your house is worth. And that's why it's good to check, what have we said it is, and you probably know what it is, and that narrative can really bring forth, why we might be off the mark. We're proud of the work that we do, but always try to walk humbly, because we know we're a little bit more than 200 people trying to value 1.9 million properties, okay? We know less about your home than you do, so.
When will we know exactly how much the taxes have gone up?
You will know exactly how much your taxes have gone up about this time next year, when the tax bills come out next year.
This is a 2023 appeal, and you don't get that information until next year.
And why can't we tell you? It's not because we're being evasive. It's because there's some things that haven't been determined yet. We don't know if we were off on our appeals in Broadview and the rest of Proviso. That's one thing that hasn't been determined yet. The more things are being reduced on appeal, the lower the tax base is in your community, the higher the rate goes. And then we're not the last word on that. Then the board review does the same thing. They can shrink down even more. And sometimes, the board review, they're more sympathetic to large commercial properties. They might reduce the value of the industrial plants here. And that puts more burden on you. So that's something that we don't know. That's a thing that has to unwind during the year. And you in the village and the school board, you haven't determined what your levy is yet. So those are all things that haven't been determined. And then the state hasn't determined the multiplier yet. So those are all things that are a little bit up in the air. Yes? the question was, what about fencing around the house, chimney, windows? Can that make a difference? It's sort of, you put yourself in the shoes of a buyer. Would that make a significant difference in the value of the home? If you think it would detract from the value of the home, you might want to mention it in your appeal. Like, I can't think what that might be, but like if you're next to a train and it's really loud, and maybe the train pattern changed. Like we have a lot more trains coming through, don't we? Yeah. That can be something. You know, we're trying to measure the impact of loud areas already, but that's a thing to mention. So the question was, the homeowner's exemption, is that on there automatically, or would we have to apply for it? If you've already had it in past years, it should be automatically renewing. It's always worth checking. Just check everything, like in life, you know. We just always check anyway. But it should automatically renew. The senior exemption, now when I came into office, my mom said, well, now that my son is the assessor, I want you to do something. We have to recertify every year that we're still over 65. Can you stop that? I'm not getting any younger. So we went to the General Assembly, we got it passed. So once you have the senior exemption and you're over 65, you keep it. It automatically renews, regardless of your income, if it's your main residence. But always check, because with the senior exemption, sometimes if we think you bought another home elsewhere, it might drop off, okay? So just make sure, just check it every year. The senior freeze is different. The senior freeze is where your assessment is frozen in place if your income is under $65,000, okay? And if you're over the age 65. It is a terrific exemption to have, especially in times like this when house values are rising. But you have to recertify every year that your income is still under $65,000 because Social Security benefits are on the rise. People's incomes can change from year to year. So that's why it's important to do that. Now we're sharing more information with the Illinois Department of Revenue, so make sure you are certifying this correctly when you file for that, because if you're not, we will come to you because that is shorting everyone else in the community if you're claiming it and you're not eligible.
The senior free and the senior exemption is different in different things?
Yeah, so the question was the senior freeze and the senior exemption, those are two different things? Yes. You can qualify for both of them and the homeowner's exemption. So you're entitled, for everyone, if it's your main residence, you're entitled to the homeowner's exemption. For everyone over 65, regardless of your income, you're entitled to the senior exemption. And the senior freeze is for folks whose household income is under $65,000. And that's the one they have to recertify for every year. But you can get all three. And I wanted to add one more thing. Say you missed out on this. This is so complex. You meant to have your homeowner's exemption, but you didn't have it. You meant to have the senior exemption, or you meant to have the senior freeze, but you didn't have it. We can go back in time, 4 years, to apply those exemptions and refund the money that you overpaid because you didn't have those exemptions. That's called a certificate of error. We are happy. Our team is here to help you with that. There are probably people in this room right now who have a certificate of error coming to them. There are certainly people in your life who have that coming for. A wonderful way to give a gift to someone is to take out that mailing list, if you have any holiday mailing list of people in Cook County. Go to our website, look them up. See who doesn't have their exemptions. 1/3 of homeowners don't have their homeowner's exemption. And you can say, hey, I just got you a Christmas gift. You have 3 years of certificates of error coming to you. It's very easy to apply at the assessor's office. Yeah, you do not. Anyone, if it's your main residence, you're entitled to the homeowner's exemption. If you're senior over 65, you're also entitled to the senior exemption. Sorry?
I was saying, how do I go about
Okay, yes, we'll work with you. We have specialists right here. Yes, ma'am.
So my question is about
The long-term homeowners exemption? Okay. Long-term homeowners exemption is this thing that was created by Springfield that sounds very nice, that's almost impossible to qualify for. It's got a great name, but it's like a mirage. So let me just tell you about it because you asked about it. It starts out easy, and then you grab for it and you can't get it. So you have to have been in the community for over 10 years in your residence, okay? Your income has to be under $100,000, okay? And then you have to have an assessment increase greater than everyone, be in the top 1% of all assessment increases in Cook County. In Cook County. It's not a happy club to be in necessarily when it comes to assessments. And we notify you automatically if you qualify, okay? But there are only about 1%, 1.5%. Yes, yes, actually we're talking to our legislators in Springfield. Now, it's one we have to be careful of because if everyone qualifies for it, that can mean that more burden is put on everyone else. Like in Proviso, we don't have much of a tax base yet. It's growing, but if a lot of people got that long-term resident exemption, the winners would be the people who had their assessment reduced, but then everyone else would pick up more of the burden. And that's why it's a tough decision for Springfield. It's not an easy one. I'll give you an example of what happened in 2017. They said, hey, let's increase the size of all the homeowners exemptions and the senior exemptions and the senior freeze. Then we're going to make everyone happy. Well, they didn't make everyone happy because there are a lot of communities that didn't have much of a tax base, like Park Forest. And a lot of homes fell off the tax rolls completely, so those folks are paying zero. Everyone else in Park Forest had to pay 20% more because all the other people fell off the rolls. So in our Southland communities and in some of Proviso, although Proviso is getting wealthier, it's less of a problem, but that can happen too. So we have to be careful.
I'm just going to quickly say that if you realize that you are missing exceptions on your second installment, the certificate of error application is available for download now if you wanted to fill that out and mail it to us. But if not, you can also wait until November 1st when the application will be available online for you to fill out. Additionally, yes, that is what you should do. You can track it. You can see if it was accepted, if it was rejected, or if you need to send in more documentation. We will let you know, and then you can submit that in. But additionally, we also have a virtual certificate of error presentation on November 6th that will be live on our Facebook. So if you have questions about the exemptions, what you need to be eligible, and how to apply for those missing exemptions, then it'll all be there again.
And the homeowner's exemption and the senior exemption, they renew every year, but you still have to apply for them to get them the first time. So if you bought your home in the last few years, you should really be checking to see, do I have my homeowner's exemption? If you turned 65 recently, you should say, oh, do I have my senior exemption? Did I apply the first time? So that's the thing we want you to make sure you check.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say one thing. If you all are doing research as it relates to your homes and you're finding information on the assessor's website, in addition to that, you can contact a realtor and just ask him for comments. Ask him or her for comments. What has sold in your neighborhood? And you can narrow it down to your block. And then they will be able to start doing your investigation and your comparison. So I just wanted to share that information with you. But it's a tool that can be used in conjunction with the county assessor's office.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if there are no more questions, we want to thank you for your time. Give yourselves a round of applause. Let's give the assessor a round of applause. Your trustees a round of applause. We do have the room until 8 o'clock, I believe, so we got like 2 minutes. So I'm going to go get some Chipotle, actually. That's what I'm about to go do. So thank you guys for your time. Appreciate you all. If you have any more questions, you can definitely contact us this way, social media, any way you want. Be safe, be wise, get home good. Appreciate you all.